CEEN Caribbean News, it's now time to go in depth. Riveting debates, endless intrigue, social media memes, and more. We're talking about the U.S. presidential election as the race is on between billionaire business mogul Donald Trump running for the Republicans and former Secretary of State and Democrat Hillary Clinton. Who will win come November 8? And what sort of impact will a win for either candidate have on the Caribbean and its diaspora? Before we take a look at this matter, we head to the streets to hear the views of some Caribbean nationals.
Right now, if Trump wins the election, from what I've heard him say, brother isn't me? Him not so right to the appear. So at one point I didn't think he was serious, but then Mr. say him a win, you know, and he's the leading Republican, whatever, isn't me? So if he win, major changes are happening in the world. A lot of countries now cut off the US. Just Trump just not for win, isn't it? I don't care about politics because man corruptible. But if Trump win, a lot of serious things are going to happen. That's what me think, isn't it?
Hillary. Because Trump not fit for it, none at all. Like, who is Trump? He doesn't like black people. Like, why would he beat? Like, Hillary is in a better position to beat.
Well, I can't say much about it, you know, because I'm not taking part in it. But I don't want Trump to win it. I'd rather the lady take over the thing.
I'm not sure. Really. I can't say.
I see Trump as a man that don't look too right in his head to me, you know. He look to me like a crazy man. So I prefer Hillary take it because it looks like if Trump take over America, it will turn over. So I prefer Hillary more than Donald Trump, yeah. He look to me like he's not too right in his head. Yeah.
Black people can't go back to America. And I think more black people are dead. Simple. Because right now Obama in power. Jamaica can fly proper, more decent and more easier. But Ryan Chung, the China man win right now, problem. You can't get through it. You can't get to go overseas so easy. You have to go a lot of things to go through. The system will get tighter and harder.
Well, it's interesting to see the debates, but I don't understand why Mr. Trump is in it, because he doesn't sound intelligent enough to run a big country like USA and to make the right decisions. He sounds a little... I think Hillary is the right person, not because I'm a woman and she's a woman, but just listening to them talking, you can see that there's some level of intelligence there with her.
My information, I will say it's up to God. You understand? Because he's the one that chooses and he's the one that, you know, it's up to God.
And now we hear the thoughts of the Caribbean diaspora on the topic. We've been joined by David Mullings, a Jamaican who is an employee of Hillary Clinton's Florida coordinated campaign as the Deputy Organizing Director in Miami, helping with the Caribbean American outreach. He also runs the Caribbean Americans for Hillary.com website for a Clinton surrogate. Hi David, welcome to Indepth.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Good to have you. Now, what specific aspects of Hillary's campaign are you assisting with?
Well, so I'm the Deputy Regional Organizing Director here in Miami-Dade, helping with Caribbean American outreach. We have an office in Little Haiti. We're about to open one in Liberty City as well. So we're helping to register voters, helping to make sure we get the vote out, organize volunteering as well, and make sure that we win the state of Florida for Hillary.
Now, what's the general sentiment among members of the Caribbean diaspora about Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump?
Well, I think your Vox Pop says a lot of it. This past weekend was actually Miami Broward Carnival, and I was there thanks to Karen Green, our Caribbean Coalition Director, for the entire state. She organized, supposed to be there, and a lot of people are saying the same things in terms of support for policies. There are a lot of people that really see why Hillary is a better option when they look at stuff like immigration reform, improving the minimum wage, healthcare is a big issue. And of course, Caribbean Americans focus a lot on education. So a college education plan that Hillary has is something that a lot of people have been talking to me about. Up to a week ago, I was at a fundraiser down in South Miami. We had people from Jamaica, St. Lucia, we had some African Americans as well, and they were talking about the same topics. They tend to feel that Trump is anti-immigrant in the way that he talks. His rhetoric comes across as not welcoming, not being inclusive. And so that generally is what a lot of people are looking at, those key policies.
Now, what effect will a Hillary Clinton win have on foreign trade policy with the region?
Well, I think her time as Secretary of State has proven that she's very good at negotiating deals. She does want to make sure that we have more fair trade versus free trade. But I think her experience with her husband being in power before has given her some insight into how we can adjust. We did have deals with the Caribbean, and we know what has happened in the past. So I think there are lessons to learn from that. Certainly, immigration reform is a big one that I think we're going to be able to look at. She's obviously intimately familiar with the Caribbean. She's been to Jamaica, they've been to a number of other places. And so I think it's going to be positive. It's going to be a net positive for us in terms of if minimum wage increases, that obviously benefits us. We're sending money back. Those of us here in the United States send a lot of money back home. Jamaica knows that. We're looking at, $2 billion a year, US dollars being sent back just to Jamaica. So if the minimum wage goes up, that's going to be better for us as well. If we have improved health care, that's something that's going to reduce the cost to our middle class. A lot of Jamaicans are middle class and upper middle class, as well as people from other Caribbean islands. So overall, I think we're going to see more money being able to go back into Caribbean countries, preferably not just being sent to families, but being able to be invested in those economies going forward.
Now, remaining on the topic of trade, another topical issue right now in the region is the matter of correspondent banking relationships due to the de-risking practices by U.S.-based banks. CARICOM has raised the issue as well. Do you think any of the candidates will be able to address this matter?
Well, I definitely don't think the Trump campaign even knows about this issue or has it on their radar. I worked in Jamaica. I used to work with Jamaica National Building Society, so I'm intimately familiar with things like FATCA. And so I know there's some tensions. I think that she's more willing to listen to that because she's heard it for the last 4 years from countries all over the world, and especially the Caribbean, because we have to have some banking relationships here in the United States to make it easier for us to send remittances. So I think she'll be more amenable to talking about these things, and we certainly would have her ear more than anybody else. She does have somebody for Caribbean American outreach. They have set us separately from African American, so that was very positive. And the Trump campaign has not really made any effort to actually target Caribbean Americans, so I don't think they would actually pay any attention to those kinds of issues.
Now, a hot topic for many in the region is immigration. What are Hillary's plans for the continued integration of immigrants into U.S. society?
Well, I think that the campaign slogan of Stronger Together says it all for us. We really do believe in a big tent and in being inclusive. So her rhetoric has spoken to that. Her policies, more importantly, show that immigration reform is a high priority for her. And President candidate alone, President Obama, somebody I've supported for both runs, has tried, but you need the House and you need the Senate as well. This is something that requires us voting for Democrats down the ballot, not just at the top of the ticket. And that way we can have comprehensive immigration reform. But that's something that she very much has at the top of her plate, and I think it's critical because we as immigrants come here to this country, we give our best. We're not here as criminals, we're not here as rapists, we're here doing our best. You can go to anywhere in Florida, you go to anywhere in the tri-state area, and I guarantee they speak very well about Caribbean Americans, especially our doctors, our nurses, our teachers. Are sought after, as we know. They come to Jamaica and even recruit some of our doctors, teachers, and nurses. So I think it's very important. She gets that, she understands that, and I don't think the other side actually truly understands how we have been a net positive for the United States and their economy.
Now, share with us some of the activities that you and your team have been doing on the ground to drum up support for Mrs. Clinton.
Well, obviously we're out at Miami Broad Carnival, making sure we're giving out what we call chummy. We're giving out the placards, Caribbean Americans for Hillary. People wanted buttons. We had some people that were very much taking pictures saying us why they voted. But the most important thing is they register people to vote. Every single election campaign, you first need to register people to vote and make sure people have the updated information. After that, you need to actually talk to them. You need to make sure they understand policies, make sure they talk to their friends and family. And then after that, you get them out to vote. It's not enough just to be registered. We know that. Ground game is how you actually win campaigns. So we're doing door to door. You do that every single campaign. They've done that. But you go and you knock on the doors and you talk to individuals. We're doing some additional things thanks to technology. I'm not allowed to talk about them right now, but some really interesting things that are different from what we did in 2012 or 2008 and taking advantage of technology. But the most important thing is talking to voters one-on-one. We don't have really that many verandas here in the States, but we're talking to them on the porches, we're talking to them in the living rooms, we're talking to them in the neighborhood, on the street, and we're making sure we have offices in their communities so they can come in and talk to us as well. It's not just about going to them, but also getting them to come to us with various events. So we've had, for example, Praz from the Fugees has been here in my office, and we've done voter canvassing with him, doing phone banking. We've had Garcelle Bovo, who was fancy on the Jamie Foxx show. She was here as well, and that was amazing. We brought Cory Booker down here to talk to people. So that's what we're doing. We're bringing people who they can relate to, not just politicians, but bringing people they can relate to talk to them and make sure they realize that this election is just way too important to sit out.
Now, why is it critical for persons with Caribbean roots to support Hillary Clinton on November 8th?
Well, I think from a policy standpoint, it's very important, especially if you live in the United States. When we look at the most important things, we're talking about college. Education is something that we as Caribbean people value extremely highly. Hillary is the one that's put forward a very clear plan to make it easier for people to go to college, afford to go to college. We do have a student loan debt crisis here in the United States that tends not to be spoken about. As somebody with student loan debt, I know what it's like. Thankfully, mine is not so high, but I had a lot of friends who were here, and when they were graduating from college, some of them cried at the exit interview because they were coming up with so much debt. So Hillary has that very clear plan, and that's something we support. Comprehensive immigration reform is critical for Caribbean Americans. That's just a big one for us, and we need to hear more about that and feel like we're wanted in this country, not feel like we should pack up and leave if Donald Trump wins. We want to be welcomed. We have been welcomed traditionally. And so that's another big one. When we look at income inequality in the United States, that's something that we want to talk about as well. I think that Caribbean Americans tend to be more middle class, upper middle class, but we are in a range of income brackets, and we want to make sure that we see fair wages for fair work. That's just something that makes sense. The middle class is the engine of any economy. As we know, we've seen Jamaica go through those problems with that middle class being hollowed out. We need to make sure that we have a candidate that does the same here in the United States. So those are some of the biggest reasons I think we should be supporting Hillary. For me, it's very straightforward. What helps me and my family, and then eventually my community and my original country of birth as well.
All right, thank you so much for joining us, David Mullings.
Thank you for having me.
We were just in discussion with a Jamaican who is an employee of Hillary Clinton's Florida coordinated campaign, David Mullings, discussing with us the U.S. presidential election and its impact on the Caribbean and those living in the diaspora.